Well, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Tech Planet. I'm going to give you a 1-year update on 2 of my terrariums. Let's check it out. All right, we are going to be doing a big update on this terrarium. I think we're probably hitting close to a whole year now of this thing being alive. There were some mistakes. We went over that, and we will go over that in this video as well. However, we need to start from the beginning just to kind of see how I set this up so you can get an idea of how well certain things actually did work. So to get this one started, I did start off with actual gravel for an aquarium. I believe this is called sea chem. I put this at the base just for, I guess, a drainage layer. However, I'm not a real believer in a drainage layer if you're managing your water properly in a terrarium. I guess it can help, but at the same time, if you need a drainage layer, I think at that point, you're going to hit the capacity of the drainage layer eventually anyways, but that's neither here nor there. After that, I decided to put some straight up aeroid mix in there, and then on top of that, I had a leftover fluval stratum. It's another aquarium substrate. I'm just testing out a lot of interesting stuff here and just seeing what it does long term. Now, the star of this show was a jewel orchid I got from the half dead section. I love buying my plants from the cheap section because I don't know, I just don't like paying full retail price, because usually it's 3 or 4 times more than I really want to pay. And so once they're on death row, that's when I scoop them up. The other very big prolific plant that you'll see in this build is going to be, I believe they call these string of frogs or creeping oak leaf fig, something along those lines. If you Google it, I'm pretty sure you'll find it. But that's going to be basically my filler and my ground. Now, in my very first rendition of this, I mounted everything up on the back, put the jewel orchid in there, put the creeping or string of frogs, and then I did take some moss from my backyard and put it up in the front. I was really hoping to get some little bit of a moss bed in the front, but you'll see in the update now that it actually didn't go very well. I want to say this was about 1 or 2 months later, and you can see the moss did not do good. It just died off and never regrew. I'm very new with using moss in terrariums. For whatever reason, the stuff I'm finding in Wisconsin just isn't the right thing. I don't know if it's because it's not a tropical moss or what, but it just doesn't work. So I ripped it out. I was happy to see that the jewel orchid was doing just fine, though. I was a little worried it might either outgrow the container or just get sick and die, being in sort of a low substrate area. Again, not much of a drainage layer, and it's super humid. Wasn't sure how well it did, but it did fantastic. Same with the string of frogs or the creeping oak leaf fig, still filling in the background really nicely. Now, I did want to put something in the foreground, so I found some other plants that looked pretty neat. Again, this was in a cheaper section, so I tried to put that in the front, hopefully to get some kind of carpet. But we'll see in a few months here that didn't work out either. You can see it pretty much all died back just to basic dirt, and nothing new sprouted. It just slowly died. I don't know what it is, but trying to get some sort of carpeted plant in here is just not working out for me. But again, I can't be too disappointed because the jewel orchid is doing fantastic, and so is the string of frogs. It's filling out wonderfully, and so I can't be too sad because for the most part, this terrarium is doing just fine. Around that time, I did go shopping, and I picked up a few more orchids to try in here because the first terrestrial orchid was doing pretty well. So I got a different type of jewel orchid just to add a very different color and variance to the style. You can see this one has a little bit different pink veins, where the other one had more subtle white veins and a little more darker green, where this one's a little more orangish red. So I thought maybe if I get 2 in there, they contrast each other quite nicely. And I did find this other sort of terrestrial orchid, not quite, that I was going to try in the foreground again. I know we've had pretty much bad luck with foreground, but we're going to try again with this one singular plant and see how well it does. I did add a few wood chips to sort of break up the front and back, and I was hoping the wood chips would help that other orchid sort of get its grips in here without just being plunked into some wet soil, because both of these orchids were grown in more of an orchid mix, so hopefully this sort of helps. And again, luckily for us, we do have an update. I want to say about 2 months had passed since we put those 2 orchids in there, and here you can see things are doing well. None of the orchids perished. Our foreground orchid, or at least that's what I'm calling it, that's off to the side, is alive and putting out new growth. So things actually seem to look like they've stabilized and things are growing and no longer dying off. Now, I did find a giant millipede that I had been keeping in a small container for quite some time, and he seemed like a really perfect match for this nice little terrarium. There seemed to be a lot of food, a lot of leaf litter that he could chew on and eat, and I put him in here, and so we can see kind of how long he lasts. I did see him for quite some time, a couple months, every morning when I would wake up for work, he would just be crawling around in here. However, you will see in the update that is coming up that he did not actually live, or maybe he is, he's just hiding. I'm not really sure. I just have not seen him in a very long time, and it's not easy to dig this thing up. So I do feel bad for him, but I'm kind of hoping that he was already at his end of life anyways, just because of how big he actually was. And that brings us to present day. Basically, I filmed this the day before I posted this, so we are in 2024 in April, And it has been at least a year, if not a little longer, since I started this whole process, and everything is doing really good. All the orchids are alive and well, and I'm really happy. I was a little worried about that one off into the corner, but it's doing just fine, and the reddish jewel orchid is still growing just fine as well. The only issue I would say with this terrarium is it's actually growing a little too good. Everything is filling this thing out quite quickly. You may have seen in the footage, but I did take a couple leaves and just put it in the front just to kind of add some color and just give some like space breakup of the actual like creeping fig, because it was taking over pretty much everything and sort of consuming all the like foreground, but the leaves kind of kept it at bay. Overall, I'm really pleased with this, and the reason I'm making this is there has been quite a few requests to see how this one is doing. Again, a lot of terrarium like content people usually show you beautiful terrariums, but I never get to see what they look like later on, and I'm glad I can show you updates on what I have and how it's gone and show you like the truth behind it, like what has died, what hasn't, what worked, what didn't, because I think it's really interesting to see just the evolution of a terrarium over time. So far, this one seems pretty darn stable in its current state. I'm really enjoying it. It actually sits like up in my actual house, and I think it's really beautiful. Now, as a little bit of bonus content for anyone who's made it this far, I did actually start another terrarium at the same time as I made this one. However, the only issue was I lost all the footage of me building it, which was really sad. I went to plug in the SD card, but my SD card reader sometimes like glitches out and just like corrupted everything, and I lost all the footage. However, you can at least see it now after, I don't know, this again is probably close to a year of growth, and it was just a fern-based one with some cork in the back. I really love this one a lot, and I believe I did put some Markgravia in there, but it has taken forever to do anything. You can see one decent like inch-long leaf if you really look closely. However, it's tough to see. This is another terrarium that I've really grown to love just because I've watched it grow in really nicely, and the ferns, for whatever reason, just do well in this environment. I usually struggle with my ferns outside of anything like this, so I was happy to have like a multi-species fern terrarium that's just doing well. I mean, the leaves die back, they fall to the forest floor, they decompose, and things just keep on going as they should, and I really love this one as well, and this one sits right up next to the other one. I've had a lot of fun with these terrariums, and there is a third one that I still have to make, and again, it's been sitting around for a year unmade, but again, I really love these long-term terrarium videos because it kind of gives you a glimpse into how they started and where they are now. So hopefully in another year, I'll have another update. Alright, that pretty much sums up that video. I hope you enjoyed the update. It's nice to see that my terrariums actually survived a whole year. I've done some in the past where after about a year, they kind of look terrible, really. But these still look good, actually. I think they're like in their prime right now, and hopefully they continue on for a long time. As far as the big terrarium plant room build that you're seeing, it looks more like a skate park right now, but I swear I'm making progress on it. Things are just taking a lot longer given the things that are going on in my life, but yeah, I mean, there is some noticeable progress. I have been filming it, so for those of you who want to see the whole process, I am filming parts of the process and whatnot, so there'll be a big dedicated video. And then one more quick announcement: if you made it this far, that's probably good. That means you're probably one of like the OGs, the people who actually like this channel. And I do have a Discord now, so I will put a link in the description. You can join. We just kind of chit chat. You can show off your plants, hydroponics, terrariums, aquariums, pretty much anything that's plant or nature related. Just kind of there to have fun. It's free to join and everything, and so hopefully I'll see you guys there. And as always, may your plants go strong and healthy. Keep experimenting. I'll see you next time.